All right, this week on the Weekly Spark, we're going to cover three big things. Number one, we're going to cover the war in Iran and how it affects you as a home buyer or you as a real estate agent. Number two, we are going to cover Redfin and Compass's partnership and see how that could possibly affect you as a real estate agent, whether you're a Compass agent or not. And number three, we are going to cover how Florida is on its way to getting rid of their property taxes.
Welcome to the Weekly Spark, your fast 5-minute flash of insight into the world of mortgage and real estate. Every week, we're here to ignite your understanding of the market, from mortgage rates and housing trends to legislative updates and insider strategies. So let's strike the match and spark your week. This is the Weekly Spark.
What's up? Had to take a couple weeks off. It is our first 2 weeks off in a row since the inception of the show, but I'm feeling refreshed, and I hope you are as well, Jason, because there's a lot of stuff to cover going on right now.
I am, man. Let's get right to it.
All right, man. So first off, the big one, WAR in Iran. How does this affect us in the mortgage world and housing world?
Yeah, so obviously we never root for something like this to happen. A lot of people said, hey, if we go to war, we're going to see better bond market, right? And, that's never what we want when it comes to, cheering lower rates. But the reality is, this happened over the weekend. A lot of people had an inclination that bonds would get better because that's usually where the flight to safety is with big money. But what did we see? Well, we saw the bond market tank, and most of the big money is going to fixed assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin. And of course, real estate is always going to be there. But, the reality of this is we saw this when this administration went after Maduro. We saw the bonds kind of crash and tank, but they came back in a week and a half even better. And then when we went to Mexico to take out the drug lords, we saw a similar situation. So, I think long-term, we're going to be fine. It looks like the bond market is recovering. We did see average interest rates go below 6%. They're a little bit above that now at 6.13%. But I think long-term, we have the new Fed chair coming in May. Warsh is going to be have a more dovish approach, I believe, and we still see rates continue to get better. But the reality is, Ryan, and this, we've got super busy. Rates are looking really, really good right now. So even where we are in terms of this war, and hopefully it'll end soon, there's a great opportunity for purchases and refinances.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that comes out of this one, obviously with the location of Iran and the control that they have over the Strait of Hormuz, ultimately it comes down to oil. And if oil prices spike, we're probably seeing mortgage rates jump with them at that point with inflation.
Actually, yeah. So that's really the main issue, right? Is like we have to worry about the inflationary piece of it. And with the Strait of Hormuz shut down, it makes more sense that the bond market did tank. So that's another great point, Ryan. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, it was good to see the resilience, though, like you mentioned, watching it come back yesterday. Everybody was like lock in the morning, and then in the afternoon we saw it all come back right around. So it was pretty fun to watch. So yep. On to the next one. We've got a big one, obviously, in the real estate agent world. Compass and Redfin partner to where they're going to exclusively put their listings on Redfin. I know they've been in a battle with Zillow in the courts. So what are you thinking of this overall? And I put Rocket in parentheses there because we know Rocket and Redfin are the same thing. So
Compass gave Zillow the big middle finger, right? But I wanted to get your take on this, Ryan, because I know that you've been following this pretty closely. What's your take on just the information that they have and how Redfin and that Rocket relationship is going to be a part of this whole thing?
Yeah, I think over the course of the last couple of years, we've seen Rocket go on this tirade of acquiring companies and large companies, right? With the Mr. Cooper acquisition, the Redfin acquisition, and now this partnership. Ultimately, to me, this is a data chase. It's short-term in nature. It's only a 3-year agreement. That 3-year agreement sends Rocket enough data for them to triple their revenues, right? And so ultimately, that's what it is. Rocket has a machine that they can put those leads and those contacts into a funnel, and their 16,000 plus phone jockeys can call all day. So the interesting thing I think we're going to see here is how do Compass agents react to getting those referrals, and how they've mentioned they're not going to pay them at this point. That has been something that Rocket and Redfin have set up before. They're not going to pay them on those referrals So it's going to be interesting to see how they flush out all those details of what those referrals come into. And then ultimately, I don't think the big players for real estate agents in the market with Compass change anything. It'll be interesting to see if those middle players for the agents, the ones that aren't quite where they want to be, if they end up getting hooked on the rocket and try to ride the rocket all the way to the moon, so to speak, and take those leads and then start sending their stuff into rocket LOs. So it'll be interesting to see if that's a switch that's made.
And I'll add this, Ryan, I'm glad you brought up the data. So, data is we're going through a data war, right? Whoever has the most data wins, it seems like. So real estate agents, if you're not protecting your database, I highly encourage you, get a CRM, make sure you're following up with your agents or with your borrowers rather. We partner with our real estate agents and we make sure that you're getting updates on when their birthdays are, when their anniversary is. And, we want to stay in touch as a team with you to make sure that you're going to capture that business in case they want to purchase or list their house again, or if they have a family member that's looking, we want to be top of mind. So just be very careful because they are going after your database. Trust me.
Yeah, and they will find a way to call it for sure. There's a lot going on behind the scenes for sure. I'm interested to see how that plays out, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again. So this one's fun for me, obviously in Florida. What are you thinking about? The Florida government just passed this and put it up for the vote coming into midterms, so it'll be a great vote in the fall. What are you thinking about this?
Dude, I absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan of lesser taxes. I'm a huge fan of trying to get affordability for housing for folks. Florida is a great state to implement this, I think, because they drive a lot of revenue with tourism. There's a lot of big money down there. So, but knowing that you live there, how do you think it's going to change the dynamic? Because in Alabama, some of our tax bills are $500 a year. Over there, you're talking about $5,000 a month sometimes. So, I'd like you to expand on, do you think it would be a big change for affordability, do you think, for borrowers that are purchasing?
Yeah, you kind of got a little tug of war, right? Like the affordability versus accelerating home prices back into 2020, 21 levels of appreciation because, my primary house, I'm capped at like $4,000 a year and it only goes up a little bit, right? We just got a contract for a $430,000 purchase, which ultimately is a little bit less than what my home value is now. And the tax estimate was $5,500 as the base taxes before homestead. So, you're seeing it's definitely pushing the limits of affordability. So for primary residences, it's going to be great. However, does it make the home values go up to match and offset those taxes because people can start qualifying for more, which allows people to buy more and it just drives up those low prices. Ultimately, I think it does impact the, median and below the most in a negative way, in a couple different ways, right? It'll give them, if they own their home already, it'll give them access to no property taxes, so making that cheaper, but it's also going to drive up most likely sales tax because we've got to get the revenue from somewhere and tolls may go up or be implemented more. So, there's definitely a tug of war of affordability and seeing where it goes. But, like you, I'm a complete fan of flat tax, just make me pay more for the stuff I use and don't tax me for the stuff I don't. And I love it. So hopefully, as it gets worked out, there's arguments on both sides for sure. And it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how the vote comes out because I think there's people on both sides. So,
Yep.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got this week. And we will see you on the next one.
That's a wrap for this week's edition of the Weekly Spark, brought to you by Creative First Mortgage. If you've got questions or want us to cover something next week, please let us know, shoot us a message, and until then, keep your deals moving and keep your week lit. See you next time.